Hello and welcome to Subconscious Sundays Special Edition. I am your host, Reverend April Kling, and with me as always is my lovely co-host, the amazing,
Hello, hello.
the astoundingly talented Timothy Freeman. How are you doing, Tim?
Yeah, thank you. Well, good. Great to be here,
Yeah,
and thank you all for joining us.
yeah. Very, very, very important day today. Talking about the topic of crisis. Crisis. That's my crisis face.
Well, I appreciate you reading a pulse here and
Thank you.
putting this together because there is a pulse here. There is a nerve here.
I think so too. I think we really do. And before we dive into it any deeper, we should do call to our little call to all of our rules and intentions, calling that in. So let's go for it.
Yeah, great. So if you're just joining us for the first time, welcome. Great to have you here. And if you're joining us again, welcome back. But this Subconscious Sundays we want this to be a fun and maybe even entertaining and definitely kind of more laid back way to discuss potentially serious and heavy topics.
This being a pretty serious and pretty heavy one. So we want this to remain open and inviting, welcoming to those of you who have questions and your own ideas, and you are welcome to bring those respectfully into the conversation.
Yes, and uh, when we're in our regular season, this does become a weekly ritual for us. But we do this to gather together our shared communities in a virtual sacred space to share our knowledge about the subconscious mind and the levels of consciousness. And we also love to hear your responses about this too.
Indeed. And stay tuned for information about our third incoming season. We'll have a TBA date on that for for the more weekly episodes. This one, again, is a special edition. But our core values, as we do every time we meet, are to be respectful of everyone's individual journey, rooted in compassion for ourselves and others, promoting growth and expansion and creating a supportive community, which we wouldn't have if you didn't watch. So thank you for watching. And today is probably the day I am most hoping to really call in all of those values, because I cannot imagine a greater need, a time for such a great need for compassion. And as you know, our topic being crisis, I want to just name first and foremost that the crisis that I think everybody thinks we're going to be referring to in this dialogue is like a global crisis or a national crisis, right? And and to be fair, that's exactly why we called you here for a special edition of the show. And I want to name that crisis of toxic global and national leadership, no matter where you live, um, is the side effect of a lack of care, concern, love, attention, attunement for generations. So once that's out there, let's dig a little deeper, okay? Right now, Tim and I both, and we've talked about this at length, and I think that we're not alone here, but we're noticing a lot of fear, a lot of panic, and a lot of paranoia in our communities, and especially online.
I'm going to add
So,
anger to that list too,
yeah, and anger, which
or maybe better outrage, which is a
outrage,
subset of anger.
which we've covered in a previous episode, and it's directly related to fear, to being afraid. Anger and rage and outrage point to a fear that we have, an unfairness that we sense in the world. So this is all very potent stuff. And it's all stuff that's really delicate. I want to go into this conversation with a clear realization and acknowledgement that this is very delicate conversation. So what we want to also name is that there are sincere, well-documented, political efforts to psychologically manipulate, deteriorate the mental health of anyone who opposes whatever is happening that the leadership is doing. And it's designed to, especially the pace and the intensity and the chaotic nature of it, is intended to stoke fear, instigate panic, and remove credibility by inducing paranoia. Remove the credibility of any opposition by inducing that paranoia, getting us all into a triggered state so that we're incapable of action, and any action that we take from a triggered state, any reaction we have from a triggered state, is going to immediately discredit us as being too emotional, being too disorganized. Okay. So it is really important that we name, also, like, give the proper labels to those aspects of what we see. Fear is an emotion. Panic is an action. And paranoia is a state. So you've heard me say a million times on this show that we really can't get into the business as spiritual practitioners and as mental health practitioners of shaming anybody for their emotions. So there is no shame in feeling afraid. There's no shame in feeling fear about what you think the outcomes could be of what's happening in terms of what leadership of any country that you live in or in the world that you see when you tune into the news. There's no shame against anybody feeling fear. And that's not why we're here. We're not saying don't be afraid. That would be a direct like it would be a conflicting message from what Tim and I are here to say. What we are saying is don't panic, which is taking actions based on that fear, and don't enter the state of paranoia. And we're not saying this to say to shame anybody who has, because a lot of people have. It's designed, what's happening is designed to create this, right? It's designed to create panic and paranoia. What we are saying is that if you're finding yourself in that state, we want to offer tools. We want to offer tips to help you walk it back and get back into a place where you are operating with a clear head, and that you're operating with self-compassion.
I just want to add something really briefly on this because this is really important.
Yes.
Just from a hypnotist perspective, when we flip into sympathetic nervous system response, we lose the faculties of our prefrontal cortex. We don't think as clearly, we don't act as rationally. We all know this.
Right.
So the key is to learn how and cultivate our ability, which we all have, to regulate our nervous system, especially in the face of these intense emotions. Anyway.
And Tim, as you'll recall, and some of our viewers may recall, when I held global peace within training, we go over that because it's super important to acknowledge that when we're encountering things that break our sense of safety in our worldviews, that it is stressful. And that is something we have to consider when we go into the work of building peace. So this is no different. We're creating peace for ourselves. We're creating peace around us as an antidote to the lack of care, concern, attunement, attachment that we're seeing result in leadership that is lacking all of those things and behaving from that lack, right? So I want to be a bit vulnerable here and kind of make this personal, but I'm not going to reveal like names or anything that is confidential, because I protect that very carefully with my clients. But this time last year, I was mourning the death of somebody who is no longer with us. And he died alone. And the last thing we all heard from him was the day before he died. And it was the last of a series of daily, multiple times daily for weeks, maybe even months, increasing paranoia about world events. So this stuff kills people, is what I'm trying to say here. We need to be very cautious with the way that we engage with media, and we need to be very cautious with the way that we treat our mental health as we go forward in what we perceive to be this crisis of leadership, this crisis of legislation, this crisis of even global warming, war, you name it, right? What I have noticed also, and I'm going to be very delicate here, the people that I serve, the people that I'm close to, that I engage with on a regular basis about this topic, the people that are the most triggered, the people that are the most reactive, the people that are most upset about what's going on, have something very, very potent, have a crisis of their own in their personal lives that's very potent right now. I will just go ahead and name that. Alcoholism and dealing with that, depression, dealing with that, severe depression, cancer, another
Relationship issues.
Yeah, exactly. Like the dissolution of a relationship in one case in particular. And these are the people that I see that are really putting their focus on what's happening in the world right there. And what that tells me is that we have to treat the antidote to what we see happening in the world. We have to treat that antidote. We have to treat it with an antidote, which to me is calm, care, and community. And this is what Subconscious Sundays is about. The whole reason we do this show, the whole entire reason we do this show is to create that care, create that community, create that compassion, create a sense of calm, and give you all of the tools necessary to do that. We would not be here if this wasn't a problem that we were seeing in the world and then in the people we deal with on a daily basis in our work. So we want to talk. We want to have this dialogue around mutual aid, and we want to have it with focus on personal and intimate care. When information gathering no longer serves us and we're triggered, we must treat doom scrolling and excessive media consumption with the same seriousness as we do intimacy avoidance, emotional abandonment of ourselves and others. I guarantee you that the sense of urgency that we feel around narcissism in our relationships or fearful and dismissive avoidance, I guarantee you that this obsession with doom scrolling and this obsession with news media and current events, if we become obsessive and paranoiac about that, it probably is pointing to some sort of lack of care and some sort of unmet need in our relationships and in our lives. I'm not saying that as like a personal theory from the field. I'm saying this from an international peace scholars student perspective. I am a scholar in this, and this is what we're learning in class. So this isn't just me shooting from the hip. This is a well-documented phenomenon that there are unmet needs when there's a creation of chaos in any kind of political dynamic. So I can't really distill the global peace within curriculum that I offer. I'm happy to put that on again. I'm reluctant to try to distill all of that in this episode. But what I will say is that one of the spoilers of that training and one of the biggest takeaways you're going to have if you take that training, if I offer it again, and I plan to, is that we have to cultivate efforts to preserve our calm mind and body. This can be done through prayer, yoga, meditation, therapy, body work, and as popularized by the Black civil rights movement, self-care. So,
And hypnosis,
and
self-hypnosis.
hypnosis. Well, I said therapy and
Yeah,
definitely
sure.
hypnosis is part of that.
Yeah.
So I want to read, speaking of Black civil rights movement, I want to read and share a quote. Caring for myself is not self-indulgence. It is self-preservation. And that is an act of political warfare. And this is from Audre Lorde in 1998, her book, Burst of Light. She was a Black civil rights author and someone who really has a lot to teach us about caring for ourselves when we feel like we're under attack, when we perceive ourselves to be completely under attack by the people who, as we would say in peace training, track one, our leadership, um, the leaders in our society, when we perceive them to be not caring for us but attacking us. These voices from the civil rights movement have a lot to say about what we need to be doing to care for ourselves so that we can act, so that we can counteract and be that antidote to that feeling of paranoia, chaos, fear, and so that we can re-engage with the intimacy of our relationships and our communities. Tim's going to have a lot more to say about this than I am, but I'm going to kind of leave with just a few final points here. The way that I see the structure of this, when I find myself engaging in paranoia, when I find myself engaging with somebody who's in a state of paranoia, is to change the subject. And I'm not trying to say this as, I'm not trying to be an ass. I'm really trying to say that we need to be putting our focus on care. So when somebody brings current events to me in a state of panic and wants a reaction out of me, my reaction from this point forward, based on my very extensive training and education, is to make that topic, turn the topic around to what is going on with you personally. I'm going to ask what you're doing. I'm going to ask about how your relations, your most important relationships are going. And I'm going to ask you about the mutual aid that you're engaged with on a very personal level. I recommend that we do this with ourselves as well, that we change the topic. If we find ourselves getting worked up, if we find ourselves watching the news and feeling that panic, that paranoia come on, that we change our focus into something that is going to give us a greater sense of intimacy and fulfill our own needs. Focus on the more immediate problems in our lives. Focus on building relationships and intimacy, and focus on community building and meeting needs through mutual aid, which, if everything that we're so afraid of and everything that we're so paranoid is going to happen actually does happen, will only serve us in our survival. I cannot stress this enough. Thank you.
Yeah. So I have a question for you, April. Mutual aid.
Go ahead.
What do you mean by that?
So mutual aid, I don't have the strict dictionary definition of this, but it is bypassing the middleman for offering care to people and groups in our communities that lack certain needs. For example, being a volunteer in a community rather than just throwing money at the problem through donations. Now, I am not going to be somebody who says don't donate to something. Not even 2 hours ago, I was donating to somebody's cause. They were doing a run for multiple sclerosis, and I was just like, absolutely, I'm donating to that. So I'm not saying don't donate stuff. I am saying that we need to start to look at direct ways we can have an effect on the people in our lives and our communities. Mutual aid means giving money directly to the people who need it rather than using charity to be a bypass. I am of the opinion that we should not need charity in order to provide care to others. But because of the way lives are structured these days, and because of all of the ways that we are disconnected from one another, charities have arisen to serve that need. Mutual aid bypasses all of those blocks to care. So making sure that the people in your lives or the groups that you care about, especially the groups of people that are going to be most harmed by the legislation and the dictates of people in power, those people we put emphasis on helping. This can be as simple as purchasing products from the businesses that they own. It doesn't necessarily have to be like feeding them, clothing them, or making sure that they're housed. It's that too, but it can also be as simple as putting your efforts into directly focusing on people that need that thing rather than the people who serve that
Yeah.
need.
Okay. Gotcha.
Does
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
help?
Definitely. Thank you. I mean, we've talked about this stuff a little bit before, but I really was, a little unclear about the use of that, and I think some of the people listening were too. So that's helpful. Um, I just kind of want to add too. Oh, thanks. Very good to see you.
Yeah, I want to read her
Yeah.
comment. I'm feeling that the pulse in both the micro and macro. I was discussing with my partner that I have to be very careful with my mental health right now. I agree with your piece on community, April. Yes. And she also has a lovely thing to say. So lovely to be with you again. Yes. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for being here as well, Bear. We, I don't want to go into this too much, but I will say that there is a frustration. I'll let you behind the curtain for subconscious Sundays a little bit. There is, for me, I don't think so much for Tim. I don't want to speak for Tim, but I will say there is a level of frustration in this work of offering this as a service and it not being received, not being understood, not being accepted, valued. I really do a lot of self-care around reminding myself that what we are doing, what Tim and I are doing, and what you're doing, Bear, is of intense value. And I do a lot of work around building that sense of community and that sense of support around me to remind myself of that. Tim is part of that. And I think I'm part of that for Tim. I definitely think I'm part of that for
Oh
you
yeah,
as
for
well,
sure.
Tim. And we are not going to ever let a lack of reception or a lack of validation get in the way of us doing this work. We're going to keep going and we're going to keep doing it because it just so happens that if we only get one viewer today, if we only get one person where this soaks in and they take this message forward, that could be the very person that reaches 10 million people or 2 billion. And that's why we do this work. And honestly, the clients that Tim and I work with are actually the type of people who do reach millions of people. And we are okay with not being the ones that are the most visible. We're really okay with being one that reaches the people who are. So if in the case of Bear, I can honestly say that Bear reaches far more people in our community than I can because she lives here. She's lived here her whole life. And she's able to be so integrated in her own community in order to disseminate this message of what of yoga, particularly like ahimsa, nonviolence. And that's been inspiring to me. I've been somebody who's been able to be on the receiving end of that.
Yeah, and I'm glad that she brought in, again, I mean, this is kind of where you were centering this discussion, that there's the macro and the micro, right? And that you've seen a mutual reception between the amount of attention and focus on the macro being kind of in direct relation to like the micro crisis, like compounding
Yeah.
crises. That's kind of what we're talking about,
Compounding
right?
crises.
So that when we've got
Yeah.
all of the personal stresses that maybe boil into crises, it can really kind of like overtake our mindset, and we can focus more attention on larger crises. And my point here, and I think yours too, April, especially with global peace. I'm sorry, your training that you offer, global peace within, is that we really have to start right here with the micro. And
Yeah.
so what? And then the question for me too here is, for those who are inspired, like a lot of people ask, like, what can we do? What, like we see these crises, or we're experiencing these crises. What can we do? And so that's kind of why we're here too. Like, what can we do?
Yeah. We're here to answer that question.
So
What can you do? This. Tim has tools that he wants to offer today. He's got a meditation prepared that will get us into that hypnotic state, get us into that zone of our minds where we're able to be more
Yeah.
receptive so that we can understand these messages on a much deeper level. And I want to share something that Bear said that I feel like is an important point. It's kind of a two-parter here. It takes a village. Everything takes a village. And if we disconnect from our loved ones, the demons win. I'm choosing to encourage others to choose this empowering thoughts only. And then in the second parter, I want to address this. Not that it's toxic positivity. That is not at all. Bear gets it. That is not at all what we're saying to do here. What we are saying actually is to redirect your focus away from the disassociation of obsession with things you can't do anything about. Rather than saying things from our own selves and each other, which empower us, that takes courage. And we can see from the people at the top at the moment, they're not doing that. And we can. The people at the top don't care. They can't care. They weren't raised to care. They weren't encouraged to care in their lives. But we can. And that's what Tim and I are here to do. We're encouraging you to come into your own self. Do not disassociate with things you can't do anything about. Stay focused on the things you can do. And I think I need to turn it over to Tim now.
Oh, no, that's perfect.
Oh,
yeah.
One more comment from Bear. Thanks for teaching us the power, the potential of transcendence. We will not be magnetically pulled into that low vibration. Thank you. Yes.
Yeah, and thank you for doing that too, Bear. I mean, it's very, as we all know, it is easy. It's all too easy to get pulled into that. I mean, what we might call that low vibration. And one of the ways I see that is kind of like I said in the beginning, like when you get pulled into a sympathetic, like we're triggered by a strong emotion. Like we see something happening, we have a thought about it, we kind of apply a meaning, and then we stick a story onto it, and that causes emotions. And this is kind of the process in the subconscious that happens, right?
Right.
And there is something we can do about that. And what it means is we're not in that low vibration. Is we've been pulled into a fight or flight, freeze fawn state where we don't have our full capacities, and we're not tapped into our resources. And what April and I do is help people tap into those inner resources, and so that, and provide direct. It's not just tools. It's not just like tricks. We get.
I call them tips, tricks, and tactics.
Yeah, no, that's part of it.
It's more than that.
That's part of it. But you really have to get to the subconscious roots behind and just slow things down. I think that's the point. Like you have to really slow it down and look at where this is rooted in the subconscious. And this is the work we do. This is the rich bed for transcendence. But for the specific feelings here, and then I want to get into our hypnotic meditation. April, you mentioned specifically fear. Go ahead.
Yeah. It touches a nerve, but more than it touches a nerve, it touches a wound.
Right.
And that wound is from not getting needs met when we were young, when we were in the womb, when we were babies, when we were toddlers, when we were children, teenagers.
Bingo. Thank you for tying that back around.
And now we're it wasn't even in my notes, but I was like, oh my gosh, I have to say this. And we're seeing how that results if we don't address these wounds. If we don't address wounds, if we don't address what's touching a nerve, we get the leadership that we have.
Yeah, and the macro becomes the micro. I mean, this collective consciousness has produced the world we live in.
Right. Yeah, the micro. Yeah, exactly. Well, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Okay, great.
Because you've got the real tool here, and I'm going to let you get into this brain.
Okay, sure. So, and then real quick, I just kind of want to offer that, when we're dealing with fear and anger, there is a reason it's there, and we can help you work with that emotion rather than it working against us. But the first step is to reach and cultivate an ability to reach this more resourceful state of being. And it's not just our conscious thinking mind. That does a lot for us, but it's limited. We have to integrate and access the deeper parts of us to really utilize our fuller resources. So if you want to join us in this hypnotic meditation, we're going to take a few minutes to tap into your own inner power and your own resourceful state of being. And many of you joining us might have meditation practices or whatnot, and you might be practiced in cultivating uh, a contemplative practice. And this is along those lines. Hypnosis and meditation have a lot of overlap, but specifically here, I'm going to offer some tools that work with our nervous system and that you might use moving forward. So go and just settle into a comfortable position, seated or lying down, where you're not going to be disturbed for the next few minutes. And of course, don't participate if you need to focus on anything else here, but now really is the time to relax. So just settle in. And as you're settling in, just uh, kind of just release the worries and stresses of today and just allow yourself to relax more deeply. And there's really nothing that you need to be doing right now. You're exactly where you need to be. So as you become more comfortable, just start to begin to let go of some tension. You can shake it out or give a big sigh if that's helpful too. And just start off by imagining the power of our imagination. Just imagine a wave of relaxation flowing from the top of your head all the way to the tips of your toes, and really kind of just pretend and feel a wave of relaxation from the top of your head to the tips of your toes. And you might already feel just slightly more calm. Take your attention to a spot in your environment, either if you're indoors, the wall or the ceiling, or outdoors, something that's just above your natural eye gaze. So your eyes are upturned just a little bit, and just find that one spot. Really hone in on it. Notice all of the color and the shadow and the nuance. And as you take a deep breath in, focus even more intently on it. Notice all the detail. And as you exhale, look through the spot. And you might notice everything come in from your peripheral vision, corners of the room. And when you're ready, close your eyes. Now relax your jaw. And as you do, this in itself sends a signal to your entire body that now is the time to relax. And your jaw just gets a little more soft. And gradually slow down your rate of breathing. Get into a really comfortable, slower rate of breathing. And here's the key: a longer exhalation. Comfortably, slowly breathe all of the air out of your lungs. The breath is one of the strongest levers we have to regulate our nervous system. So just nothing forced, just enjoy getting into a slower rate of breathing with a longer exhalation. And an interesting suggestion: relax the back of your tongue. Just let your tongue rest fully. What we're doing is decoupling that part of your body from the part of your brain that's preparing to speak. We're always half preparing to respond, half preparing to speak. This opens up our mind to experience expansive thoughts or notice the silence underneath it all. Take your attention now to the surface beneath you. Just feel it pushing up into your body, focusing on that feeling of gravity supporting you. And you might even expand your awareness to notice the quiet presence of the whole earth under you. And as you let your body settle in more comfortably into gravity, taking a deep breath, and send your awareness down, down to the center of the earth, all the way down, as far down, deeper and deeper to the very center of the earth. And as that awareness fades, you go even more deeply and comfortably relaxed. And send this new feeling of relaxation from the top of your head to the bottom of your feet. 1, 2, 3. And take in another slow, deep breath and allow your awareness to reach upward this time. Up, 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 all the way up and out to the very center of the universe, as far out as you dare to go. And you might even call in, if you have these beliefs, a higher power or just the loving guidance of your spiritual allies. And just know that an all encompassing love fills you and your environment. And as you bring your awareness back down into your body, let this grounded feeling from the earth commingle with this light and expansive spirit of inspiration, commingle in this balance point of your heart, below and above, balancing at this horizon point in your heart. In fact, drop your consciousness now into your heart. If you perceive the center of your consciousness somewhere behind your eyes in normal waking life, just imagine dropping that seat of your consciousness into your heart. Good. Now imagine a warm golden light surrounding your body, and it fills you with an even deeper sense of peace and tranquility. And you notice now a sense of spaciousness all around you. You might not know where your body ends and the rest of the world begins. You may feel floating. And as you slow your rate of breathing even further, just slow, natural, and relaxed breaths, just notice how your whole body feels. You might notice underneath it all the activity and the sound, there is a stillness, calm, and just drop into that. Visualize now a soothing color that represents to you harmony and balance. And with your next deep breath in, breathe in this color and just imagine this color filling your body all the way to your toes. Just imagine it. Just pretend it's filling your whole body. And exhale completely. Let this color now move through you. Let it move all the way through you. This sense of quiet, calm, allows this color of harmony and balance to just move all the way through you, letting go of any stress or anxiety right now. In fact, there's a part of your body that wants to just relax even further right now, and just allow that to happen as this color moves through you. And for a moment, imagine just the sense of what it's like to encounter that feeling of crisis, whatever that is right now, whether it's fear or unfairness. Just imagine that sense. And where do you feel that in your body? You likely feel it concentrated somewhere in your body. We're just getting a little sense of it. Now soften towards it. Slow and relaxed breath. Just soften your awareness towards that crisis sense, what that feels like. And as you soften towards it, let it just move through you, just like that color. That feeling in your body disperses through you and moves all the way out, just like it came in. For with the power of your awareness, it came in. And with the power of your awareness, it's moving straight through you. Now imagine that color that represents harmony and peace once more. Harmony and balance. As you take in another deep breath in, once again, just imagine this color filling your body all the way to your toes. And as you take in another deep breath, it infuses every part of your body and your being. And then again, let it move through you. Let this color move all the way through, almost like it's rinsing your whole system. Taking another deep cleansing breath. And as you exhale, once again, bring your attention to the surface beneath you. Feeling lighter, more at ease, and maybe even a little stronger. And you can feel in this quiet state when we can tap into the still point. Notice the quiet stillness underneath everything. Any thoughts, let them come in and let them move through you. Any feelings that come up, let them come in, soften towards them, and then let them move through you, all the way through. And in a moment, I'm going to count from 1 to 3, and we'll emerge from this hypnotic meditation feeling calmer, more resourceful, more at ease. 1, taking your attention again to that surface beneath you, and just beginning to notice your external environment. 2, retaining a little sense of that silence and stillness underneath it all, knowing you can access this at any time. And 3, opening your eyes, feeling a little refreshed and calmer. Thanks for joining us for this hypnotic meditation.
That was awesome. And to borrow a word from Bear, transcendent.
Good.
I went ahead. I'm not always able to do these, and every time that I do, indulge in them.
Well, this is the power
It's
of our
nice.
consciousness. We cannot give our power away. It's a power that we cannot give away, even if we try. Just this exercise proves that. So prove your own power to yourself this week.
A reminder that it's
Yeah.
ours. Yeah, it's ours. It's ours to reclaim, and it's ours that we never have to give away to anything we don't want to. I want to also name that normally with this show, we do at the beginning like a question that I pose on Facebook. And this week, the question was simply, hey, how are you? I initially was going to share the answers to that question with first names only.
That's our
I
usual MO.
felt likely, yeah, this time I didn't. But I will say this. There are people who still have something to celebrate in this world. And that is worth seeing too. There are still people feeling joy. And that's worth seeing and acknowledging too. And alongside that, there are people who are suffering. And it's okay to see that. And it's okay to be there, but we have to put the focus on care. And in every scenario where I have been in dialogue with other spiritual and mental health practitioners, in groups or one-on-one, we're all saying the same thing. The emphasis has to be on care. So that is the last thing that I'll say on this topic. And as always, Tim and I are here to help. It's what we're here to do. It's how we are serving this purpose. It was this type of scenario 8 years ago for us. The disarray and the confusion and the panic and the fear that we saw in our communities that called us into this purpose. This is us answering that calling. So this is coming from years and years and years of alchemizing exactly the panic and fear that we're talking about for ourselves. We've been there. We get it. We have zero.
We are there.
None.
This is continuous.
Right. Like
continuous.
We feel it.
I don't want to say effort or work. It's a continuous process that we all need to engage in. And that's the point.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it's why we became practitioners. Because we became very gifted in offering this to others in the way that we do to ourselves. So that said, we highly encourage you to work with either one of us or both of us. We have packages we can put together if that's of interest, where you can work with each of us, with Tim in hypnosis and with me in dialogue. And I'm getting a lot more clients these days who want to do more intuitive and expressive arts. So if you're feeling like getting in touch with your creative nature and engaging in the creativity and all of the healing work that creativity can do, not just for yourself, but your communities and your world. As we say in peace studies class, the opposite of violence is not peace, it's creativity. So if that's something you want to engage with, Tim and I are prepared to support you with that too. So please reach out. The links to set a free appointment with either one of us are in every description of every video that we do. So click on those, set yourself up an appointment that's convenient for you. We want to help. It's what we're here to do.
Oh, yeah. And
this is why we are here.
I have a new recording that I've created that I wanted to share with you guys here. Go to higherstatehypnosis.com/calm, CALM, and download my hypnosis recording if you want to engage in a contemplative practice like this on a regular basis. It'll really help.
Yeah, definitely. So that link, we'll put that in the comments, and that will be a great little tool that you will have that will do enormous things for you. And it is a great way to just kind of kick Tim's tires a little bit too.
Yeah, right.
See what he's capable
of. Sample
Right.
hypnosis through a recording, but I will say the one-on-one work that both April and I do, this show is just kind of a little taste of it. We love to go really deep and work with you to discover what's in the subconscious that might be holding you back, or April's work definitely touches on that, just like hypnosis does.
Yeah, definitely. It will help you get away from that freeze state that these types of fears can induce for us, and that overwhelm. I'm here to help you process that. So we have another comment, and then we'll sign off. This is Alwyn's Soul. Dear Phoebe, who has supported me, and I have supported her through many similar challenges. And she wants to say thank you so much. So beautiful. Thank you. It means a lot coming from you, Phoebe. Thank you very much. So at this time, we're going to go ahead and say goodbye, but we're here if you need us. We're going to be releasing our starting date for our third season very, very soon, actually. So stay tuned for that. And we have missed you, and we'll see you again very, very soon.